You are good to go.
Okay. Um, and should I be able to see the slides though? I am not.
Not yet. As soon as you ask me to share them, I can share them.
Oh, great. Thank you. You could go ahead and bring up the first
You got
slide,
it.
please. Thanks. Would you mind you can close the side panel, Madeline. Thanks. Great. Thank you. Um, Thanks everyone for joining. Tonight we're gonna give you a little bit of an overview of what's going on with the Southgate area water distribution and sewer system project. Um, this project includes the Southgate, Franklin Street, Murray Ave, and Lafayette areas. There's portions of each of those streets. So I'm Tora Burkhart. I'm the co-project manager along with Diane Doyen. And we'll tell you a little bit about the project and open it up for questions at the end. If you would, please hold your questions to the end. Next slide, please. So on the team, we have Diane and myself, as I mentioned before. We have the DCST stands for Design Construction Services Team, essentially a design build team. There's a contractor side of that, and there's an engineer side of that. The contractor project manager, Steve Schumer from Schumer Incorporated. Also with Steve is Sean Deshawn, who's also from Schumer. And then we have Joe and Joseph and Ola, who are from the engineering firm EBA. And then the city has an owner's representative, the project manager for the owner's rep, which is Gannett Fleming, is Keith Tyson. A couple other people from the city that are here. We have Jen Fight, who um, is coming over to the dark side, to the water sewer folks in engineering, but she has in the past been involved with paving, and so she's a wealth of knowledge as it relates to paving related issues and can answer questions if there are any for that. Also, we have Jesse Berniston, and Jesse is the assistant superintendent for utilities. So he can kind of come at it from the operations side if there's any questions related to that. Did I miss anybody? Hillary. We got Hillary too, and she's constituent services, and Alderman Huntley is here as well. Next slide, please. So just to kind of give you an overview, the way that we go about deciding and the location of replacements and where we're going to do the replacements is the city's water and sewer asset management plan, which covers a lot more than just age. A lot of people think of how old is the pipe, and then that's when you're supposed to replace it. But there's a lot more to it. So we have a very good asset management plan that helps us make good decisions about what projects to do. So the water distribution system replacements for this project will include the water main, the water service laterals, where there aren't relatively new meter vaults and meters, it will include replacement of those, and then also fire hydrants and valves. Sewer main replacement includes sewer main replacement and is only on Southgate and Franklin. You'll see the maps shortly. That includes replacement of PVC sewer mains, manholes, laterals, and cleanouts. The benefits to you, though there is quite a bit of disruption associated with a project like this, the benefits are even better. They include more reliable potable water and sewer service, longest service life, and less susceptible to leaks and outages. With that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Keith from our owner's rep.
All right, next slide,
Next
please.
slide.
Yeah, so as Tor said, this is the project area. You can see that outlined in orange there. The water work is again going to be on all these streets. So we'll be doing water main replacement on Southgate from West Street down to Franklin, and then Lafayette from Southgate to Monticello, and then Franklin from Cheston to Murray, and then Murray from Franklin to Lafayette. The sewer work will be on Southgate all the way to the end down there where it's near Spa Creek, except for a little piece in the middle. And then on Franklin from Cheston to Murray. The blue squares you see are some water valve work that we need to do at the beginning of the project to ensure that we can isolate the water mains in the event that there's some type of emergency situation. So that will be happening in February. We're working on the sequencing plan for that now. And then the work is going to kick off in February, early March. So now I'm going to turn it over to Steve Schumer, who's going to talk more about the sequence of construction and what the construction will probably look like in the community. Next slide.
Yes, thank you. As Keith said, my name is Steve Schumer. I'm with Schumer Incorporated. We're the design build team. I'm the project manager for that. And we thank everyone for having us back in Annapolis to perform more additional utility work for you. Briefly, I want to just go through a couple slides to review generally what to expect during the construction and ultimately what it'll look like upon our completion. Give everyone a feel of the work that's coming. This first slide is some estimated timelines for the water construction. These are just estimates. If we can accelerate them, we will. We are working on utilities that are rather old, and I'm sure we'll see some surprises and we'll adjust accordingly. But initially, the blue is scheduled for February 25th through April 25th. That's most of Lafayette. That'll be followed by Southgate Avenue. That's going to be April 25th to July 25th, tentatively. The yellow.
Steve,
Yes.
Can I just interrupt for just 1 second? I think that is meant to be the year, not the date, because we're not that specific. So it's February 2025 to April.
Thank you. I was
2025.
being early.
Sure.
Literal.
I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that we weren't being that specific.
Yeah, I did read that wrong. Thank you. Anyway, moving down to Franklin, you see that it's outlined in yellow. And in the north of Franklin, from Southgate to Murray Avenue is going to be shown in the orange. And these are estimated durations for the impact of the water main work. Next slide, please. The next slide is our estimates for the sewer work. We're going to start in the blue. That'll be on Southgate portion up near West Street. That's going to be followed in green on Southgate from Lafayette down to Franklin. The yellow you see right there is going to be the work on Franklin, followed by a section of orange, which will be Southgate from Franklin towards the water. Once again, so this will be the mains and the laterals for each section as is designated at this time. Next slide, please. All right, so what we have in this slide is a couple of examples of what you can expect throughout the day. The slide on the left, something you'd probably expect mid-morning, the trench is excavated, the new pipe is being ready to be installed. And that's what they're installing there. The pipe you see there is going to be very similar to the pipe we're going to be installing. On the right side is a little later in the day, more lunchtime, late afternoon. They are just finishing laying pipe for the day. They are backfilling on the right of the picture, getting ready to compact. You'll see a gentleman waving the truck back. That's fairly typical of the amount of space we need to, and will be impacting throughout the day. Next next slide, please. So what this is a typical bypass. Some of the water main will go in the same trench as the existing pipeline. It's very important that we maintain service to everyone with minimal disruptions. And that's what the blue pipe along the gutter in both pictures is showing. This pipe will be laid along the gutter. We will make allowances so traffic can drive over it if there would be a driveway or an intersection. We do ask everyone is careful with it. It is breakable, so parking is you must be very careful with that. But that's only for a small portion of this project. Next slide, please. What these pictures represent, starting on the left, is a water service. Now the main's already been installed, tested. We're now in the process of connecting each individual property to the new main. On the left is a typical ditch that's been dug. The new pipe is laid, and the new water meter is installed on the bottom of the picture. They're doing some hand backfill to secure the pipeline in place ahead of the remaining backfill. Picture in the middle is a little bit further along in the process. They have the street side with some crushed stone up to sub base of where an asphalt patch will be installed. On the left is the water meter pit and vault, which is protecting the water meter. Once that'll be backfilled, it'll be cleaned up and secured at the end of the day temporarily. The picture on the right is later in the project. The water service is complete. The restoration is done. You see a new asphalt patch in the roadway. That's a typical utility patch, and there's new concrete that's been poured around the water meter. It looks like a little bit of straw and topsoil behind the concrete patch. So that's a fairly typical at the end of a what you'll see upon completion. Next slide, please. This is the sewer side of the work. The picture on the left, if anyone wanted to ever see what a water service or a sewer service coming from a house where it connects to a main, that's a typical installation of the line coming from your house, tying into the sewer main there on the left. In the middle is some very similar job recently performed on King George Street. In that picture, the new sewer main is being installed. The backfill material is on the one side of the ditch, and they're excavating for the next piece of pipe to be installed. Finally, on the right-hand side is a representative picture of another sewer lateral. That's a line coming from the house going towards the main. Next picture. Some more sewer lateral pictures. The one on the left is a little further along in the process. They've installed a clean out, sewer clean out, which allows the city to service the line in case there's any blockage. Stone's been backfilled. Looks like it's gone under a gas main there with proper clearance. And in a few minutes, a little bit more work, they'll be ready to start bringing in more backfill material. Picture in the middle is just a sewer clean out. That's one that's looks like it's been installed in a green area. They've removed the snow to access it. And that's fairly typical of what you'll see if your clean out ends up in a green area, that kind of 4-inch cap. Most sewer cleanouts, access points for the city will end up in a green area. And that's what you'll see. The picture on the right is what you'll see if the sewer final connection and clean out access point ends up in a concrete that looks like it's the apron of a driveway. So that's a little different type of cap. It's meant to be traffic bearing so that there's no negative impact for vehicle traffic over the access point or clean out for the city. Next slide, please. So picture on the left is some restoration ongoing here. They've reached the end of the day, or they've come back later and removed a temporary patch, and they're installing a final asphalt patch. It's a lot of handwork, as you can see from a number of gentlemen working there, but the lines are nice and neat, and that's a progress photo. So once they roll it, it'll look very similar to the roadbed from when they started. Picture on the right represents an asphalt patch that's been completed. It represents new sidewalk, curb and gutter that was required due to the impact of the construction, probably when they were installing that fire hydrant. And then the green area underneath the straw, they probably placed the topsoil down, and I recently planted that, and it looks like they did a nice job on that. Next slide, please. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to the city. I believe Diane's going to take it from here. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so for parking restrictions, as we go through the project, no parking signs will be placed 72 hours ahead of any work in that area. Generally, the restrictions will be in effect from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Throughout the project area, the contractor, Schumer, will be storing equipment and materials along the road for the following workday. In doing this, they'll be restricting up to 4 parking spaces at a time, in addition to the daily work area. The contractor is going to be utilizing bypass pumping systems to divert the flow. The sewer bypass pumps are large, and they're going to be kept on site, and they will end up taking up 2 parking spots as they move through the project areas. Next slide. So what to expect? During the water and sewer project, you should expect, as noted with the parking, that work hours will be from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., although there may be some exceptions to those hours if it's necessary to do that to minimize impacts. It's construction work, so you should expect noise and dust, though these will be minimized to the extent possible by Schumer. We already talked about the temporary parking restrictions, and they'll be limited to the work zones to allow for the expected work during that day. And there will be typical traffic control setups, including temporary closures and flaggers. Again, except in rare circumstances, these will be removed daily. And throughout the project, access will be maintained for emergency vehicles and residents. And as before, Steve showed you pictures of the bypass piping that you would expect in most areas. And lastly, you should expect water and sewer service interruptions when connections are being made from the old mains to the new mains. Next slide. So the city has set up a project page that can be accessed from the city's website. The link will be coming up within the next 2 slides. We will also be distributing paper copies of notifications for work when work's going to begin in your area, and for any water and sewer service interruptions that are expected to last up to 4 hours. And that will happen when water or sewer is being switched from the old main to the new main. Additionally, for short water and sewer service interruptions and for impacts to access via the driveways, etc., the contractor will come to your door to let you know. Steve, do you need to add anything to that?
Yeah, there will be, I guess there'll be some interruptions to access the driveways, which we'll try and keep as a minimal. If you see us working in front of your house and you need to get in or out, just give us a couple extra minutes. We'll have steel plates and we'll direct you across them if we've trenched in front of your property. but we'll do everything we can to get you in and out quickly and efficiently. The more notice you can give us, let our foreman know you'll be leaving in 20 minutes. We'll respond accordingly and try and make it as painless as possible. Thank you.
All right, next slide, please. So to summarize, the water and sewer project contacts are Steve Schumer for the contractor, Keith Tyson for the city's owner's representative, and Tora Burkhart and myself, Diane Doyen, for the city. The email addresses and phone numbers are included on this slide. Our primary point of contact will be Keith Tyson, so you could feel free to reach out to him first via email, and he will be able to find the answer to your questions. Next slide. So if you're interested in getting project updates, you can click on this URL on the screen, or you can find it by going to the city's website and go to the Department of Public Works page and click on this project on the city sidebar. The final city component of this work will be the final paving and related road work. This is going to be completed as quickly as possible after all of the buried infrastructure work has been completed, and this will most likely take place in the spring of 2026. For BG&E's portion of their gas project, that work is nearly complete, and we've been told that their goal is to be done with all the pipe work by March, with their restoration to follow shortly after. Next slide, please. And now we can take any questions that you may have. Thank you. Looks like Hillary, do you have your hand up?
I do. I just wanted to add a few things for anybody who's watching. Some of the most common concerns that we get on projects like this are about temporary paving and temporary restoration. You'll see around your neighborhood where they've temporarily paved so that you can get in and out, but that is not the final paving. So until the project's over, don't worry if it doesn't look the way you expect your roadway to look. It's usually just temporary. And the same thing on some of the restoration work that they'll do that around if they're going back into a spot more than once. They're not going to get it all nice and cleaned up before they leave each day, but they will at the end. And at the end of the project, if you have concerns about restoration on your property, let us know. In the city right away, we're only in the right of way on this project, right? The other thing that we hear a lot about is, and I think this was really well addressed, about the plates. People will come out of their house in the morning and go, oh my gosh, my driveway's blocked, I can't get out. Don't worry that they only will do that without warning you if they are on site and able to get you access. So you'll always have access. And our fire marshal always tells me that they will get to you if you need to be gotten to. Don't you worry about that. And the last thing I wanted to say is that we will post this presentation as well as the video link to this presentation on that project page. And if you forgot how you were told to get there, you can just go to the city website and type Southgate into the search bar, and you should be able to find it pretty quickly. That's all I have. Thank you, guys.
Any further questions?
I can give our member of the public the ability to talk.
Please.
Okay.
So I do have one question. Was there any connection between BG&E project and now this one? Because it seems most inconvenient that they're like back to back.
Actually, that is done for a reason. It is actually to make it more compact, I guess, if you will. So associated with any gas project or water project or sewer project, you're going to have pavement restoration. Instead of coming back in a couple years after Jen is beautifully repaved the roads after BGE was there, we do the projects back to back so that we can go through the paving process once. And though it is a longer period of time that you're impacted, it ends up being then you don't have to get impacted multiple times. So it is a longer duration,
Yep.
but in the end, I think it ends up being a shorter duration overall.
So my biggest gripe has been the poor patchwork that they did on Southgate that was uneven. So I hope that maybe you're going to use somebody different that would do a better job of patching.
Jen, did you want to address that?
Well,
spoke
we
to
didn't
her,
choose
Jen.
BG&E's contractor. And Tom, I think you and I have
You
spoken
and I
before.
had spoken, yes.
Yeah, so we're using reliable contracting for this work. Well, actually, we have to rebid the contract out, but we will have a city selected contractor coming in to do the final restoration. Schumer will be doing their own temporary patches. If there is an area that you're concerned about, we do call the associated contractor back out to fix the problem.
Okay. It's Southgate, because that's such a main access road for us going out to West Street.
Yeah.
Great. And when BG&E does their final patching, they do call us out and we walk with them as well. So we'll make sure that it's patched appropriately before they're allowed to demobilize.
And I'll chime in real quick on BG&E's patch. I do believe that's still a temporary patch, and they haven't come through to do their required temporary restoration. And a lot of that was because of the cold weather. So,
okay, thanks. We'll be in Colorado when this work occurs if you stay with your contract. So your timetable, which is fine by us.
I'm glad you said that, Tom, because it reminded me of the one other thing I was going to say is that if you are planning on traveling during the period of this work and you have a car that is out on the street, please leave your car keys with someone or talk to us and we'll tell you what streets you can park it on that'll be the undisturbed areas.
Okay.
Because,
you do have a driveway. We're lucky.
But if any of your neighbors talk to you about that, they're going on vacation, remind them to leave their keys behind with somebody they trust or move their vehicle to a safer area.
Thank you for mentioning that. Appreciate it. Good point. Anything else? Great. I think that finishes up with this presentation. Thank you for coming and share information with your neighbors, Tom, because it sounds like you were the only one here.
Hard to believe. Okay.
Everyone watching on share from Colorado.
When we get back, they complain. I can't believe I'm the only one that did this. That's funny.
Other people signed up, I think, but I don't see those people. But they're people have the choice of just listening in and not participating in this way. So
one very quick story. So I lived on Thompson Street for a long time and would play with my kids in the street, and the street was decomposed where the asphalt was chipped away from the curb and you could see the cement, And so I'm having a catch with my son and I almost turned my ankle. So I called City Hall. This is like maybe 85. And Al Hopkins, the mayor of Annapolis, answered the phone. I wasn't looking forward to him answering it. I figured I'm going to leave a voice message. And later that day, he came by and looked at the area that I was speaking about and ultimately did get it fixed. So it was kind of a very interesting thing. If you remember Al Hopkins, probably.
That's the beauty of local government, Tom.
Amen.
I promise you I'll be walking that street a couple of times myself, more than a couple.
And then they called me the mayor of Thompson Street because I got the street paved. Kind of funny. Thanks,
It's
everybody.
pretty rare to have the mayor answer the phone, though.
Exactly. I wasn't prepared. I was just going to leave a voice message, you know. He answered. It was funny.
Well, Tom, hey, this is Keith. You feel free to reach out to me if you have
Okay.
issues or questions or you know
Sure.
anything that's going on you need answers for, and we'll try
All right.
we'll try to provide the same level of service.
Yeah, there you go. See you all later. Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Thank you all
It's
for
a
being
wrap.
here so late.
Oh,
Bye.
no problem.
Yeah, no problem.
All right,
Thanks
I can
for
take you
coming.
off live.